50 seconds, stand by.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 3-Minute Thesis. We'll call it 3MT for today. And this celebrates the exciting research conducted by doctoral students. Developed by the University of Queensland, the exercise cultivates students' academic presentation and research communication skills. The competition supports the capacity to effectively explain the research and its significance in 3 minutes and 3 minutes only. It's going to be exciting. And this will all be done in a language appropriate to a non-specialist audience. We know this was previously done by UFS, the University of the Free State, in April. And in April, we received an invitation to also form part of this great initiative. This is the first 3MT event at the Noordwes-universiteit, and we hope to do this more often. We can't wait to hear all of our presenters today and their presentations, and to do a whole presentation like that in only 3 minutes. It's going to be exciting, it's going to be fast-paced, and we cannot wait. But before we get there, we are going to have a word of welcome. Now, it will be done by Prof. Jeffrey Mpalele, and he is the newly appointed Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation at the Noordwes-universiteit. He is a medical scientist with a PhD in medical virology. He is an elected member of Academy of Science of South Africa and National Research Foundation C1 rated researcher. His research publications cover epidemiology, vaccination control of infectious diseases, and strengthening immunization services and policies. He recently served as the Vice President for Research at the South African Medical Research Council, the position he occupied since 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, this list, his CV goes on, and I'll keep you busy until tomorrow. But I think let him do the talking. Let's now welcome Prof. Jeffrey Mpalele.
So thank you very much, Louis, for your kind words. I feel really honored to be introduced by you. I think this is really an exciting session for the University of our university, Northwest University, because we're participating for the first time in this competition. But it's not just about competition. I think for me, my welcome address would be to emphasize why is it so critically important that we take competition and also communication, especially oral presentations, so serious in science. Because whatever we do, if we can't be able to communicate the outcome of what we do, obviously it means that we won't be able to make any impact, and people will not be able to know what we are doing as scientists. So communication in science is extremely important. We know that as scientists, we communicate in different ways, in the form of writing publications. We have got all kinds of publications we do, but we also present at scientific meetings. And this is where the art of communication comes in. But then the most important part is really to communicate your results to the lay person in the street. And that takes a different form because you don't have to use the lexicon that will not be able to, resonate with an ordinary person in the street. You have to come down to their level and still be able to communicate the message. And this is the trick, because most of us as scientists, we are able to do our work, but to communicate that across to the public, it becomes a challenge. So for me, not just looking at communication in terms of science, but I'm looking at this really as a way in which we start to learn, how we impart knowledge to the public. Very, very important, Louis, and everybody who's participating in this challenge. And then the second part is about competition. You will know from now on that competition is going to mark and shape and direct how you do your work. Because whatever you do, you have to learn to compete. You can only get money to do science if you are able to pitch, your proposal in a way that you convince the funder. You can only be able to really make an impact in your field if you are able to do your science well. In other words, you have to compete because you have to do your science well, and you still have to, communicate it in a way that is convincing. That is part of competition. But obviously, we're looking at this exercise today as something which is really introducing you to the world of being able to communicate your message in a way that you are understood by the public and communicating within a short space of time. So all the best, those who have been selected today to do the presentations. I take you as all winners. The fact that you managed to get to this stage, it means that you are all winners. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, there will just be, one or two or three winners who will be selected. But please, that should not deter you from entering into further competitions and continue the spirit of competing. So all the best for the day, and I wish you, all of you, the best for today's deliberations. Thank you very much, Louis. Louis, from my side, I'm done. I hope I was coming through.
Yes, thank you very much there, Prof. That was Prof. Jeffrey Mpalele. Well done, and thank you for the kind words. I think you've said it well. I think you've said, although we have a bunch of winners today, this whole project is a bit bigger than that. Yesterday, with our master's students, we had one lady telling us about a 250 words project that she was, a 250 page project that she was working on, and had to bring that down to 1 page and 1 page only for a 3-minute thesis. So I think it is exciting times. But apart from that, we also have judges today, and they will have to decide on a winner. So yes, there will be 3 prizes up for grabs, and the following judges will make sure that that prize goes to one of our winners today. And let me introduce our judges. Coming up first, from the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, Prof. Derek Blau. Then also from the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, Prof. Giselle Ma. Then we have Dr. Shanta Naidu from the Faculty of Education, and Prof. Elise van Eden. She's the Deputy Director in the School of Social Science. On our panel, we also have Prof. Susan Coetzee van Roy from the Faculty of Humanities, and from the Faculty of Law, Prof. Marita Connolly. Then we also have Dr. Zambili Mkize from the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Sciences, and we also have Prof. Oladapu Aremu from the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. Those are your judges, and they will decide on the winner. So for today, we have 17 doctoral students who will compete in the final of the Northwest University 3MT competition. We had a total of 58 doctoral students enter the 3MT competition, and 36 had to compete in a Northwest University semi-final faculty competition. Now let's go on to those prizes that I've been bragging about, that the judges will have to decide on today. No pressure, judges. But the second runner-up will receive a massive 10,000 Rand, with the first runner-up receiving 12,000 Rand. And listen to this, the winner walks away with 15,000 Rand. That is amazing. How I wished that I was a doctoral student that I could have entered for this 15,000 Rand. Now, there are some rules, unfortunately, that you have to abide by. And here they go. The competition rules are: a single static PowerPoint slide is permitted. No additional electronic media are permitted. No additional props, and presentations are limited to 3 minutes maximum. I've already told this to the competitors. Once I've introduced you, please start immediately with your presentation, as you only have 3 minutes. Presentations are to be spoken word, and presentations will commence from the stage, which is an online platform today. Presentations are then also considered to have commenced when a presenter starts their presentation through movement or speech, and the decision of the adjudicating panel is final. Furthermore, we would also like to remind you that the judging criteria looks as follows. Did the presentation provide an understanding of the background and significance of the research to the research question being addressed while explaining terminology and avoiding jargon? Did the presentation clearly describe the impact and or results of the research, including conclusions and outcomes? Did the presentation follow a clear and logical sequence? Was the thesis topic, research significance, results, impact, and outcomes communicated in language appropriate to a non-specialist audience? And finally, did the presenter spend adequate time on each element of their presentation, or did they elaborate for too long on one aspect, or was the presentation rushed? And then finally, with engagement and communication, did the oration make the audience want to know more? Was the presenter careful not to trivialize or generalize their research? Did the presenter convey enthusiasm for the research? Did the presenter capture and maintain the audience attention? Did the speaker have sufficient stage presence, eye contact, and vocal range, maintain a steady pace, and have a confident stance? And did the PowerPoint slide enhance the presentation? Was it clear, legible, and concise? Now, I want to mention here, I think it's easy for the criteria to say you have to have sufficient stage presence, eye contact, and vocal range, but we're online. So that's going to make it interesting. So please keep us captured for those 3 minutes. Now, judges, contestants, and to everyone in attendance today, I think it is time to start this 3MT doctoral competition. And we are very excited. The first one coming up. And it might be difficult to sometimes be the first presenter, but you are going to have to set the bar for us. And we're really excited to listen to the following title: Curbing the Corruption Pandemic in South Africa. Now, that is a tough topic to start with, and we can't wait what Miss Jacqueline McIntyre-Lowe has got in store for us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our first presenter, Miss Jacqueline McIntyre-Lowe.
My fellow South Africans, it has been 9,124 days into this pandemic and lockdown. Thousands of lives and livelihoods have been lost. Unfortunately, the government has not yet been able to secure a medium to curb this pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a typical Sunday evening family meeting speech we would have heard had corruption been treated the same way the COVID-19 pandemic is being dealt with. These two pandemics have much more in common than one would expect. South Africa's economy has suffered under corruption, and we have lost lives and livelihoods due to the maladministration of funds. So why is it that corruption is not treated the same way? Perhaps it is because corruption is seen as a secret offense, almost like magic. And let's be honest, at this stage, we are tired of entertaining our magicians. This is where we should think outside the box. And my research proposes 2 ways to curb the effects of corruption. If your neighbor living in a middle-class suburb suddenly drives a high-value car such as a Ferrari, throws lavish parties, and has a noticeable change in their lifestyle, you would either think that they had a very rich family member who passed away, or that they've been 1 in 20 million South Africans who actually won the lotto. However, these are the exact same features of someone involved in high-end corruption. If we can prove a person's ownership in property and other assets are disproportionate to their income, and we can exclude any lawful explanations, surely we can indicate these newly acquired funds are from an unknown source or even criminal activities. And if so, this unexplained wealth should be criminalized. Perhaps you disagree with me. Well, then I propose a different route. Likewise, if we can prove unexplained wealth, as per the example I've just provided, we can issue an order where a person should prove the legitimacy of their assets. And if they can't, those assets should be confiscated. Either way, we must ensure that corruption do not enrich people. And by removing that monetary motive, we can change the economic landscape of our country. Corruption has literally taken the food from the poor, and looking after our people should become our very first priority. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just a competition entry. This is the plea for all of us to stand together to eliminate the evils of corruption and make South Africa the country of choice. Thank you.
Well done, Jackie Lynn. What a presentation. So what we're going to do today, so we're going to give our judges a bit of time so that they can score you. And while they're doing that, let's just have a little chat. I'll chat to all of the contestants today just to find out about their presentations and some topics I've heard during your presentation, and we'll just have a little chat. So it's very informal. Please, you don't have to present anymore. You've done that excellently. So it is a country to be proud of, South Africa. And there are certain things that we are unhappy with, and I think you've mentioned that really well in your presentation. What makes you proud to be South African?
Well, I always say this is my roots, and this is where I feel most comfortable. I have so many friends and family that have moved abroad and people that have left this country. And because I love it so much, and I feel this is where I should be. I shouldn't be somewhere else. And don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against people leaving this country, but I want to be here because of the diversity, the people that surround me, the way that we grew up, and just the relationships we have with each other. It's a warm feeling. It creates a warmth in your heart. So, and that is also the reason why I did this research is because I want to stay here. And this is really, like I said, where I find my roots.
So, Jacqueline, thank you very much. I really hope that your presentation will make a difference in our country. And yes, we all agree with you, corruption needs to end. There's a lot that we could have done with that. Was it 500 million, 500 billion? I can't even remember, but there's a lot that we could have done. And thank you for presenting today. So moving on then, the next title that we are going to listen to, and we're very excited about this one, is the SME's Growth, Unemployment and Poverty Reduction in South Africa, a case of Gauteng province. And let's now welcome our next presenter, Mr. Olusegun Adesile.
Thank you, everyone. Can we imagine an economy, a beautiful economy with potentials, an economy that has a lot of opportunities? However, this economy also unemployment rate, but this country does not really have much yardstick in reducing the unemployment rate. My study weighs on how to reduce unemployment among all South Africans. Unemployment rate in South Africa is quite very huge. The youth unemployment is always 57%, and unemployment rate in South Africa is also at 34%. Now, the South African government have tried their best. They've created many framework. They've created many policies. One of the policies they created is NDP, National Development Plan. The aim of this is to reduce unemployment and also eradicate poverty by 2030. Now, the question is that, does this affect or does this support the South Africans at the grassroots? Also, the South African government also created another framework called LEAD. LEAD is called Local Economic Development. The aim of this policy is to encourage sustainable development and also in turn create more jobs and reduce unemployment among South Africans. But despite this opportunity created by the government, these also haven't actually had positive effect among the South African grassroots. Now, what are the measures that can reduce unemployment? My study will use one of the factors, which is called SMEs. What are SMEs? SMEs are small and medium enterprises. They employ between 50 and 500 employees. As a matter of fact, SMEs contribute between the 50 and 60% of employment workforce in South Africa, and they also contribute 34% to the South African GDP. Now, my study will look into different measures on how to not to only assist SMEs to continue working, providing jobs, but my study will look into how can we motivate unemployed South Africans, the youth ones, to embrace entrepreneurship. We all know that entrepreneurship is a method whereby we need to create different skills on how we can be able to create jobs for ourselves and in the process employ people to work. So my study will look into that way whereby we will encourage more SMEs to keep floating despite this COVID pandemic, and also my studies would encourage youth South Africans to embrace entrepreneurship. And in that process, they will create more jobs, and in that process, there will be better economic growth for all South Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and well done with the presentation. First question for you, where are you from? Where's your hometown? Let's start there.
Thank you very much. Is in Abeokuta, is a state in Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay, cool. So I could hear there's a different accent. So from a Nigerian point of view to come to South Africa, how long have you been staying in South Africa?
Thank you very much. I've been staying in South Africa almost 5 years.
Okay, so for the last 5 years, you could see that there's a massive incline in an unemployment rate, and you can see that it is really a problem for South Africa. So I think give us an idea. Your title has to do with Gauteng province. Was that for you to really focus onto that province and to see what solutions we can find in the Gauteng province?
Thank you very much. Gauteng province is one of the best economic hub in the country, and we need to sustain this possibility. And if you sustain this possibility, obvious there will be more economic development. And so the purpose of my study focusing on Gauteng is to enlarge the growth spectrum, and also in the process use different techniques. For example, as I've said, SMEs as a method in reducing unemployment and of course eradicating poverty for all South Africans. Thank you.
Well done, and thank you, and good luck for you today. We hope the judges saw your presentation to the best of their ability. And now we are moving on, and we've had a bunch of mouthful titles today. And this one is short, and we know it's going to be powerful. The title is Glass of Milk, and is presented by Miss Christelle Charlene van Zyl.
Consider this glass of milk. Where does milk come from? The refrigerator section in the supermarket, right? No. Where does milk really come from? A cow, of course. Let's move to the farm. Modern technology allows farmers to mechanically milk a cow, but many farmers still do this by hand. Have you ever seen a cow being milked before? First, you need the cow to stand still. Now, that can be a trick on its own. Then you place your small chair and bucket on the ground, and the main event can begin, milking the cow. Don't be alarmed if the cat comes to watch. He's just waiting for his share of the fresh milk. Let's continue our tour of the farm. Take a hike in nature or swim in the farm dam. Overnight in the old barn that has been turned into accommodation, or bring your own tent to sleep under the stars. Pick your own fruit in the orchard, or play with the baby farm animals. The possibilities are endless. Now, how is a big city dweller supposed to know about these activities? I mean, it's not like you see a cow being milked in the town square. This identifies the gap on knowledge of how a farm actually works. This gap can be overcome through agritourism. Agritourism allows a tourist to visit a working farm. This can be for enjoyment, for relaxation, or to learn where milk comes from. The farm offers something for the whole family. However, before the tourist can visit the farmer first needs to develop these agritourism activities. My study focuses on how to develop agritourism, and I'm looking at 3 things. Firstly, how to change the mindset of the farmer to allow tourists to visit his farm. Secondly, how to motivate the family and other farm workers to be actively involved in this new tourism business. And thirdly, the farm resources and how this can be utilized for agritourism. The goal of my study is to develop a framework that will introduce farmers to the tourism industry and guide them through the development phase of agritourism. Just a few of the many advantages of agritourism include generating an additional income for the farmer, creating job opportunities for the local community, and of course, enjoyment for the tourist who gets to visit the farm and enjoy their fresh glass of milk. Thank you.
Oh, well done, Christelle. Fantastic work there with your presentation. So, easy question for you. Do you like milk? I know some people has got like this real issue with milk. I just like to drink milk straight from the bottle or from the glass. It's amazing. But you get people that can't drink milk unless it's in coffee or made in some way. What is your milk opinion?
Usually, I love milk. Nesquik, best thing ever invented. However, for my new lifestyle choice, milk is not part of my diet.
So I tried the banting a bit for a while, and in terms of banting, I know you are allowed to drink milk, and then they had this thing. Sorry, I'm just talking now. They had this thing, high fat milk. So it was just intense fat. I don't know how good that is for you in the long run, but it was amazing. And it kind of helped in terms of banting. So, yeah, you don't have to tell me too personal details. But what is the lifestyle choice that you've been talking about?
So, my doctor suggested a ketogenic diet. So, for
nice.
that, milk has too much sugar in, and I'm supposed to cut out sugar.
But that is the crazy part, actually. We see milk coming from a cow going to our houses and we're drinking it, and all of a sudden there are so many added things into it, and that just becomes crazy. But Christelle, thank you for having this very informal chat with me, and well done with the presentation. Good luck for today. So we move on then. Some great presentations so far. We're 3 down. Still a bunch to come, and the topics and the titles are just getting heavier, and we are really excited to see all of them. The next title, Cooperative Learning Embedded Assessment. I hope you're ready for this one, judges, and this will be presented by Dr. Anisha Libbe.
So when you think about assessment, you probably get goosebumps, right? And you dread thinking about writing a test or writing an exam. But what if I told you that you can use assessment as a learning opportunity? If I told you that you don't learn to be assessed, but that you learn through your assessment, you'll probably think I'm crazy, right? But not so much. My experience with assessment at school, and even when I went to a higher education institution, was awful. And that prompted me to do research on how we can use assessment as a learning opportunity and as a teaching and learning instruction. So throughout my research, what I did is I implemented assessments like tests, and worksheets and practical worksheets and assignments and even exams within a cooperative learning environment. And that means that, yes, students were allowed to write the test together and they were allowed to do an assignment together based on the 5 basic principles of cooperative learning that was embedded in each of these assessments. Firstly, positive interdependence, individual accountability, promotive face-to-face skills, social skills, as well as group processing. The results from this mixed method study was amazing. Not only did we manage to improve students' self-directed learning skills, we furthermore managed to increase their assessment literacy skills. So this means that students see the assessment as a learning opportunity. They see that the assessment that they are busy with enables them to see their peers as resources, to monitor their own learning, to have a huge impact on not only their learning process, but their learning progress. They are able to look back on what they've done and use the feedback that they immediately received to feed forward into next assignments, into next assessments, into next learning opportunities. Wouldn't it be great to live in a world where you don't have to be stressed about writing a test, where you don't have to be stressed about doing any type of assessment because you know that you've got your back covered by someone else, and you guys are working together to improve your learning and to improve the learning and the greater good. With regards to self-directed learning, we need more autonomous self-directed learning students and people out there, especially within the 21st century context. So through assessment and through the study that I've done, not only did we improve their assessment literacy, but we also improved their self-directed learning skills. And this just proves that assessment is not an end activity, but it can be a means to increase the knowledge base and the learning opportunities of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anisha. So as a doctor, I guess you were quite smart when you were in school. Did someone ever take the opportunity to say, we're going to do some group work, but you're going to do all the work? Has that ever happened to you? How do you combat that with the thesis that you've just done? I think just give us a bit of insight. How do you combat that you say we work together, but we work together and it's not my project and you just tag along?
Yeah, that's the huge frustration, right? And people seem to, have a misconcept when it comes to group work. When you want students just to work in a group, you'll say, all right, you can either choose your own groups and do this assignment, or you will allocate students to groups. But usually it happens like you just said, Louis, that 1 or 2 people do the work and everyone then gets the marks. Cooperative learning is a specific type of group work that's different. Because those 5 elements that I mentioned are embedded, each of the individuals within a group has a specific role to play, and they either sink or swim together. So there's no opportunity for one person to be laid back and to do nothing, but everyone contributes to the success of the group. And in the end, there's so much skills developed in the process.
And I think it takes it a bit further than once you leave school and you go into the workplace, maybe after university. We kind of work together. We have line managers. We have group members that work along with us. Do you feel that your method maybe prepares us a bit better for the real life out there?
Absolutely, because you tend to, in any work situation, work with people that are entirely different from you and have different opinions and different views on everything. So having the social skills to, listen to others' opinions without being too critical or negative, that's a skill that someone has to acquire. And we tend to lose the soft skills development, especially in the higher education. So with cooperative learning and with the assessment, that's a way to do it, yes.
But well done, and thank you, Dr. Anisha. We move on then, and next up, the title is Managing Learner-on-Teacher Violence in the Northwest Province. Wow, I'm excited to hear this one. Let's now introduce and welcome Mr. Motsamai Mumukhua.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the 13th September 2018, a teacher, colleague, friend was stabbed to death by a learner in his class during school hours. This paper is dedicated to him. Ladies and gentlemen, a global burning issue today is safety. Everyone needs to feel safe. Unfortunately, in the education sector, when we speak about safety, we immediately think of learners. However, ladies and gentlemen, the advent of democracy came with a new phenomenon, learner-on-teacher violence. Recent headlines like learner attacks teacher or teacher stabbed to death by learner in class have been published in newspapers and social media. Weapons can easily be brought to schools and classrooms. Teachers have an in loco parentis status, so they are responsible for learners' safety in schools. However, ladies and gentlemen, who is responsible for teachers' safety? There is very limited research globally on learner-on-teacher violence, and there is no information about this at schools. Department of Education even says. In his study in 2019, Chetty found that 20% of South African teachers believe that schools are violent places and suspect their learners are armed. On a daily basis, globally, teachers go through disempowering and dehumanizing acts of being disrespected, ignored, laughed at, shown indecent signs, threatened with violence, had objects thrown at them, or even killed. Mhlanga, who is the spokesperson for the Department of Basic Education in 2019, said that the department is extremely concerned about this phenomenon, but the department and schools have no capacity or budget to employ securities at school. But again, do we need to make our school environment? That is a question that we need to answer. This qualitative study, through semi-structured interviews, looked into how big the problem is in Northwest. Why does it happen? How does it affect teacher motivation and health? And why do school management teams and the Department of Basic Education find managing this challenging? This study, colleagues, have a theoretical contribution in the sense that it will help with a deeper understanding of the phenomenon and contribute to the knowledge in the field of education management. Secondly, it's got policy contribution in the sense that it will present guidelines on the development and implementation of policy on learner-on-teacher violence. And lastly, it's got practical contribution in the sense that it will assist in management of learner-on-teacher violence, thereby contributing to the effectiveness of managing schools. Now, even yesterday, it was reported that a teacher in Western Cape was gunned down on the school premises. Thank you.
Thank you, Motsamai. It's a tough topic to take on, and you really did well. Thank you for that presentation. Please tell me, we're all a bit older here, and we might have been disciplined in a different way than it is today. Do you think the way that teachers can discipline their students have changed this landscape of student on teacher violence?
Yes, I think so, because if you look pre-1994, pre-democracy, cases against learner-on-teacher violence were very few. But these days, it is very common for learners to assault teachers, to abuse teachers verbally or physically. So I think the way discipline is handled in school has contributed to a rising number of violence against teachers from learners.
And then another tough question for you. Do you think this discipline from the students is coming from home? Do you think it's circumstances that comes from home that changes their view on how they are against teachers?
I think so. I think parents are responsible for teaching their kids morals and good behavior. So today we see that learners are no longer respectful even for their teachers or even their parents or even for any elders in the community. So things have changed dramatically, and I'm afraid that they have changed not to the good.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Motsamai Momugwa. And next on, we move to another title, this time a collaborative approach to develop teaching strategies to improve English home language in multilingual foundation phase classrooms. Let's now welcome our next presenter, Ms. Anne-May Marais.
Language diversity, multilingualism, English home language classrooms, teaching strategies. Why do I list all of these areas to you? These areas are interlinked in my PhD study, just as the visuals that you can see on the screen. So change is needed to take one step at a time to get success in a multilingual foundation phase classroom. I was a foundation phase teacher for 10 years, and I have experienced these challenges relating to language diversity, and this motivated me to study multilingualism in foundation phase classrooms. I have first-hand experience with young learners who come from a diverse background where they speak another language, and they are exposed to a classroom where, for example, the teaching of language is English and they do not have any prior experience or knowledge. So my research wants to focus on what teaching strategies in an English home language will help teachers. So my research will be focusing on what teaching strategies and how the importance of, for example, translanguaging, code switching, play-based learning, just to name a few, are critical teaching and learning strategies in our South African classrooms. I will be looking at questions like which challenges do teachers experience in this diverse classroom, what factors influence their teaching, and how can the knowledge created in this research teams enhance the teaching and learning strategies. So the data that will be generated will be using various techniques in action learning set meetings. That means including the teachers themselves, including a polar approach such as discussions, visual and art-based methods, and reflective journals. So this overall purpose will be looking at to get new knowledge, not only on language diversity and the associated challenges, but also on teacher developmental needs, that we must understand that they are the change agents in their context of language diversity, and to understand the voice of these teachers. And also further to look at the phenomena in higher education to understand the articulation gap from higher education or from high schools to higher educations, to see if this articulation gap that we have, that the same teaching pedagogies will help lecturers on the same level of first-year students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne-May. Language is always a difficult topic, especially in this country. I think we all love our home languages, and that is something that we want to hold on. It's our culture, it's our tradition. But do you think that we can't go without English home language as a base for the future?
I think because the world, consists of English. That is our way of communication. So how can we prepare, for example, a grade 1 learner to enter the majority language by using Setswana? That's not wrong, but we must prepare them for what the majority language is, and that is unfortunately English. So I think, yes, we must prepare our students to cope with what is currently happening. Look at our presenting currently. It is in English, where most of us are Setswana or Afrikaans. So yes, English is the main medium instruction. Look at our books, communication skills, Zoom, all of these are English. So yes, that is the motto, to prepare our students and our learners for the future.
Now I'm going to ask you a totally different question, and I could just see it in your presentation, the way you presented. Please tell me, how long did you prepare for today, and how long was this study taken? Because I can see that you are well prepared.
I must be honest, it took me a week to get just the key concepts, to really narrow down the study, to make sure that the listeners outside must understand my study. Remember, not everybody is aware of all our big words like pedagogies, and these things and phenomena. So to really narrow this down to a basic where your audience can understand what your study is about and make it so simplicity that everybody can grasp what I'm going to do. And my study is also quite big because I'm looking at two phenomena, not only at your foundation phase, but also at your high school level. So it really took me a lot of time. And even yesterday, after listening to the master's competition, I had to go and highlight key aspects to make sure that my audience that's currently listening, and even you as a presenter, can understand what I want to articulate, what I want you to understand, and why this study is so, so important.
Thank you very much. Well done, Anne May. We move on then, and we go to the next title, which is an improved energy budgeting process using measurement and verification principles. Let's now welcome our next presenter, Dr. Chantal Pelser.
Have you ever tried to stick to a budget that was compiled by someone else? It's very difficult, mainly because what you are planning to do is not necessarily included within this budget. So you end up blowing the budget, and that has its own repercussions. Now, this is exactly what is happening at South African mines at this moment. On the one side, we have the financial people setting up financial budgets for the mine. Now, they are very good at what they do, but they look at the mine from a very high level. And on the other side, we have the engineers who looks at the mine from an energy perspective. Now, the problem is that this engineers now needs to make sure that the whole mine and all its operations sticks to this financial budget. And this is very difficult, mainly because of the variability that's introduced on the mines from day to day. And these variabilities are not necessarily included within the financial budget. So to solve this problem, the engineers started to create their own energy baselines, which acts as mini budgets and uses measurement and verification principles. Now, measurement and verification principles are actually just a complex set of rules where you use a lot of modeling techniques to develop baselines for each individual component on the mine. And this works really well for individual components, but it's not really feasible to do this for the entire mine. So we still have this problem where the engineers can't really stick to this financial budget. And this is where my study and my research came in. I started to look at all the ideas in the financial budgets that works really well, and all of the complex modeling techniques that these engineers started to use in their energy baselines. And I tried to find the sweet spot by creating different parallels that connects both the financial world and the engineering world to each other. And I considered things like the type of interval that you need to consider. Should you create the budget on a monthly interval? Or can you make the resolutions a lot smaller by including half-hourly intervals so that you can allow for things like energy consumption prices that varies from different times of the day? Yes, so ultimately I created these 6 parallels which links these two worlds to each other so that I could create the sweet spot where I could have one individual budget that both the financial people and the engineering people can use. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Dr. Chantal. So please forgive me for my next statement and question, but my statement is, you look extremely young for a doctor. Has anyone ever told you that? So please, or asked you that?
Yes, I was very, very fortunate to start with my master's and my PhD directly after getting my undergrad. So, and I completed it within 2 years each. So yeah, I've got a PhD before 30.
That is actually amazing. So I think my next question then will be, is there somebody in your life? Are they kids? How are you able to do this?
My husband is also a doctor, so he was able to help me a lot. And I suppose it's his help that were able to get me over that point.
Okay, so I know to prepare for this 3MT competition, it takes a lot of time. Does it help in your household that both of you are academics, that you know, listen, tonight we're just going to work, tomorrow night we'll have a braai or whatever?
Definitely. I feel compared to my friends, they don't necessarily understand when I tell them it's academics night tonight. Like they don't get that, but my husband at least do. So he usually also has some article to write or something to do. So then we both just have academic night. So I would definitely recommend it.
Do you ever go, this is a funny question, do you ever go like on a date night with your books and you guys sit and say, tonight is date night, we pour some wine and we sit and we just study?
No, we haven't done that, so no.
Well, there's an idea for you, okay? So
I'll keep it in mind, thanks.
Please do. Then you both pull out your books and you just study. Well done, Dr. Chantal. Thank you, and what a great presentation. Next up, we go to addressing drinking water challenges on Earth for worsening global environmental impacts. And this will be presented by Miss Palesa Mkabane.
Today I'm presenting a presentation about the call to address drinking water challenges on Earth for worsening global environmental impact. Technology is changing on a day-to-day basis that some of us have actually lost track of it. There's also industrialization growth as well as population growth. All these changes require water for them to thrive and to survive. Unfortunately, all these changes react negatively into our environment and result into global warming. My name is Palesa Mkabane, and I'm a chemical engineering student at Northwest University. I call myself a water ambassador because I have vowed to protect this scarce commodity of our lifetime. Water is under a severe threat due to water pollution as well as global warming impact. About 17% of our global water is being accessed by industrialization. About 79% of our global water is being taken by agriculture, which caters for plantation as well as animals. We only left about 2% of freshwater access for you and I to have access on. If we do not do something about this, one day when you open a tap, there will no more be water coming out of it. Now, there's been a discovery that about 12,900 kilometer cube is available as water vapor into the atmosphere. There are already areas in the world that are using this to actually explore solutions into addressing water scarcity with regards to drinking water. With the innovations such as this one, we can ensure that there's always water secured for our future generations, simply because there's challenges that I've already alluded about regarding global warming challenges, as well as the fact that there's already other areas that do not have access to clean drinking water today as we speak. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Palesa. Well done. What a great presentation. Palesa, I think we're some of us here, or most of us here today are quite fortunate to open a tap and we can just pour ourselves a glass of water, but that is not the case around the world, right? What have you experienced with your studies? What can you see? Is it most areas in the world? Are we just fortunate to not experience that in our towns?
Yes, already there's, as I've said, there already are areas in the world that do not have access to clean drinking water, specifically in Africa, in the East Africa. People go days without water. And I even read a story that in DRC, they actually teach children to drink water, only 1 glass of water a day, so that their system can get used to it. So it's quite sad, and hence I'm saying, with the innovation of saying, while all has ended on the earth or on the ground, how about we explore and actually tap into water vapor and explore in that space that is above us to ensure that we add into solutions to ensure that there's water for future generations.
This sounds like a great solution, and I hope that this can change our view and our world in terms of water usage. But what do you think is the responsibility of us as citizens and people just to look after the water on Earth?
I think it's simple things like ensuring that you do not pollute water from households, that you do not add oil, whether it's cooking oil, into your drains, that you separate such. And also, if there's a way that the water that's coming out of your sinks, which we call grey water, that you can capture and then later on maybe use it to water your gardens, as well as maybe washing your cars, so that we avoid taking from fresh water to ensure that whatever we have that is minimal can actually go a long way in our country.
Thank you very much. What a great presentation, Palesa. And I think you've changed our minds, and hopefully you'll change the minds of our future generations as well. So we move on then, and the final presenter before we're going to take a quick break will take on the title of a biocatalyst effectiveness in the photodegradation of, sorry, it's even difficult for me to pronounce, of organic pollutants under solar radiation. And this will be done by Mr. John Bedell-Batcherman-Mognol.
Okay, good day. There are still various organic pollutants that have been derived from various industries such as pharmaceuticals, textile, petroleums, and many other industries. And there has been a couple of conventional methods that has been conducted in order to remove those organic pollutants from those industries. However, those conventional methods have some limitations. In this study, there will be a use of a biocatalyst, such as the functionalizations of various cargo waste would be functionalized with two semiconductors, such as titanium dioxide and zinc dioxide, in order to achieve an effective bioabsorbent that will be used in order to remove those organic pollutants from an aqueous solutions. And from those process, there will be various photocatalysis that will be conducted in order to achieve a photocatalyst that will have a lower band gap and a lower electron combination, because there has been some various studies that have been proven that the lower band gap and the lower electron combinations has a way to improve a photo degradations of those organic pollutants. And from there now, there will be an effective analytical technique that will be used in order to analyze those photocatalysts that will be used in order to remove those organic pollutants. And bear in mind, those organic pollutants are very harmful to humans. So therefore, it is very much important for it to be removed from the environment, so that we can produce as much clean water as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. So I think I first have to ask forgiveness for the pronunciation of your name. I think you're going to have to give it to us how it should be pronounced.
Well, my name is Jean Bedell. My surname is Munyol-Batcherman.
Munyol, is that how you say it? Wow. Okay, so Jean, tell me, what is the heritage of this name? Because it's such an interesting name.
Okay, I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Cameroon, so it is actually a French name.
Wow, from Cameroon. So how did you end up at the Northwest-University?
Well, I was told by a friend of mine that there was a project that needed somebody that is a hardworking student. So that was the reason why I took the project initially. But my background was on petroleum, and since there are so many organic pollutants in petroleum, so that was the reason why I took that project initially.
Well, thank you. It was an excellent presentation, and we wish you all of the good luck for this competition. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break now. Before we get there, I just need to remind all of you that the winners will be announced tomorrow. So we'll just wait on all the judges to complete the scorecards, and then it will be presented tomorrow. So you will be informed once that presentation is ready. Then all of the winners will be announced tomorrow, and that is for the masters as well as for the doctoral presentations. So please keep your eyes on all available media for tomorrow for that presentation. It is now 29 minutes past 9 on my side, 20 to 10. Let's make it quarter to 10. We will be back here. So 9:45, we'll start with the next presentation. Take a quick 15-minute break. Please grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself something to eat and to snack on. We've heard that water is scarce in our world, so please keep that in mind when pouring yourself that lekker glass of water. But we'll see you all back here at 9:45. Just checking that everyone can hear and see me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after this fantastic break that you all had. And welcome back to the 3-Minute Thesis, which celebrates the exciting research conducted by doctoral students. Developed by the University of Queensland, the exercise cultivates students' academic, presentation, and research communication skills. The competition supports their capacity to effectively explain the research and its significance in 3 minutes only in a language appropriate to a non-specialist audience. Just to remind all of our participants that participated yesterday as well as today, The winners will be announced tomorrow. And for today's competition, the prizes are massive. 10,000 Rand for the second runner-up, 12,000 Rand for the first runner-up, and 15,000 Rand for the winner. So we're really excited to see the second bunch of presenters. And here they come. We go straight back into it. And our first title is The Impact of Family Structure and Its Dynamics on Street Children Phenomenon. Let's now welcome Miss Karabo Mohopanele.
Imagine you walk around the street and then you come across street children. Which social institution first comes to your mind? A family. It is believed that a child's place is in his or her family in the society. Now, when children leave their families and go to the street, it is often assumed that there is a serious problem at home. According to the UN census, there's about 150 million street children in the world. This is a concern and it needs to be addressed. Research on street children phenomenon focuses more on the financial stability and the economic conditions of the families where street children are coming from as the main relevant reason for children to leave their families and go to the street. However, it is beyond that. We should not ignore the fact that other different factors and dynamics within a family as a structure also play a role for a growing number of street children, rather than simply presenting poverty as the main relevant reason. So there are different family structures that exist in the society. For example, the nuclear family, single parent families, step families, and other different family structures that exist. The way each and every family structure functions has an influence on the development of a child. The overall aim of this study is to understand the functioning of family structures where street children are coming from as a holistic approach to other intervening variables within families that drive children to the street. The researchers spoke with street children together with their parents to understand both their views and their perspectives. The two street children centers were also approached. These centers eventually send children back to their families permanently. Now, this is called family reunification or family reintegration. It is very important to first carefully analyze the family structures of street children before sending them back to their families and reunite them with their parents. Therefore, it is one of the significance and the impact of this research that its findings and its results could assist as a guide for family reunification programs rendered by street children centers. I thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Karabo. I think give us a bit of an overview of where you are currently in your studies. What have you studied up to this point, and how long did you have to prepare for this presentation? I think give us a little bit of a biography of Karabo.
Okay, so currently I'm in page 200, if I'm not mistaken, because I've already went to the field and I have collected data. So I can say in terms of preparing this presentation for this particular presentation for the competition, considering the fact that it's 3 minutes, now you can imagine already I'm in page 200 and having to put ideas together within 3 minutes and presenting them. It was quite a challenge because now it meant that I had to take maybe a paragraph, only a paragraph from those 200 pages, try to put ideas together so that I can be able to present them within 3 minutes. So I can say it was quite challenging, but I feel like it's a very interesting experience, considering the fact that also I'm able to present my research. It's very nice when you are always able to present your ideas, to present your research, and to feel confident about it. So I can say it's really quite interesting, and yeah.
So tell me, one question I asked yesterday as well, you're talking about 200 pages. How do you bring those 200 pages down to possibly a one-pager to present in 3 minutes? Was that a massive challenge for you?
Yes, I can say it was quite challenging because already I know my research in my head. It's like I know like the main points in terms of what is it that I had to like bring together, maybe the main focus, the main points that I was able to put together and present them out there to the audience. So it was quite a challenge, but at the same time, considering that I know my study, it was also something interesting.
Well done, Karabu. It was a fantastic presentation, and good luck to you for the rest of the competition. We move on then, and the next title is Examining Community Media Sustainability in the Digital Age, a study of community radio stations in the Northwest Province of South Africa. And this will now be presented by Ms. Didunluluwa Tela.
Thank you very much. Do you ever listen to community radio stations? Are you familiar with the local stations in your community? This is the essence of my study today. In view of the digital age, I want to examine the approaches that community media managers are using to sustain their media organizations in the digital age. The digital age is upon us, and it has brought the good and the bad. For these local media stations in our community, they are struggling to maintain, to survive, and to manage themselves. So the essence of my study is to basically examine the approaches. What are these managers doing to sustain their media organizations in the digital age? First, my study is important because it intends to call the attention of all media stakeholders to ensure that these local stations in our community don't just vanish, that they remain on air, that they give local content and programming to the locals. And again, because community radio station as an entity is under-researched, my study intends to close the gap and contribute to knowledge. The study will also serve as a guide to both existing and potential managers on ways to evolve, ways to manage their community radio stations in the digital age. It is important I state here that the sustainability of community radio stations involves the financial, it involves the social, and it involves the institutional. But beyond all those things, how can managers evolve ways to maintain their media stations in this digital age? Scholars have thought about it, and they have decided that community media managers should focus more on their locals. It should focus more on their local content programming. I mean, focus more on their local to be able to maintain, to be able to sustain their media organizations in this media age. A lot of people are bent on the SABC, that is the biggest organization, but we need to focus on these local media organizations to ensure that they give the best to the locals and they remain in this digital age. Thank you for listening.
Well done, what a presentation. Quick question for you. So you're talking about the digital age and we've been in it for a while. It is very quickly evolving. Do you think that because of COVID, it has kind of sped up the evolvement or evolving of the digital age? Do you think we're getting there much quicker now?
Yes, the COVID has compounded the problems. Local media stations are struggling in the first place. They cannot really be, they are not really being viable. But with the coming of COVID, it has compounded the whole thing. Now, we need to look for ways these managers can make their stations survive. We need to look for ways that that they can continue to stay on air and continue to give local content programming, because people have choices. They have abundance of platforms to listen to. On a typical day, I would tune my station to either SABC or any of those big media organizations. But what about these local media organizations? What happens to them? So that is basically the essence of my study. What are we doing to make sure that they remain, especially in the face of COVID?
Of course, and to take a topic on like this, are you coming from a radio background?
Yes, I'm interested in radio. Particularly, I'm really interested in local media organizations because these are the organizations that are closest to the masses. Yes, this masses or the grassroots, they need to be informed. And apart from being informed, it will serve as a platform for them to participate, to discuss their daily social activities, to be able to get feedback from the government on policies, on regulations, on things generally. So I am not just radio, but just the local ones,
Well done, and thank you very much for your presentation. We move on, and our next title is a theoretical analysis of the phenomenon of xenophobia in South Africa. What a topic to take on, something that is so relevant in our times. And this will be presented by Ms. Marimabe Tebele.
Hi there. Are you in need of a recipe? Perhaps a recipe for disaster? Well, I've got good news for you. The ingredients that I'm going to be talking about, they have been sitting in South Africa's pantry for the longest of time. Just like with any recipe, you are probably wondering, what are these ingredients? Well, you'll need your dry and your wet ingredients. Now for the dry ingredients, you will need 1 part broken borders, followed by a cup of ethnocentrism, and then you add a whole truckload of socio-economic factors. Just kidding. 3 tablespoons will do. And then you add a cup of vigilantism, and finally a cup of toxic masculinity. Now for the wet ingredients, where you will need a cup of each of the following: lack of leadership, lack of service delivery, micro-political factors, empty government promises, and finally lack of government intervention. Now take your ingredients and mix them together. Remember, your dry ingredients followed by your wet ingredients. And then by now, you should have a nice thick mixture that's starting to resemble a xenophobic lava cake. How does it smell like? Remember to mix all the toxic masculinity and lack of government promises, as we do not want no sour clumps. Now take your mixture and pat into a lightly greased South African pan and bake in a high preheated oven for about 25 odd years of democracy. Then voila, you should have your xenophobic lava cake, which is a mixture of all of these bitter, tasting ingredients. Now imagine if all of these above ingredients can be replaced with moral incline and a well-run state, which of course will lead to harmony and tolerance of migrants. Which cake do you choose? How did it feel like when you were baking and eating it? If you have felt anything, then I have achieved my objective in bringing about broad awareness and understanding as to what the phenomena of xenophobia is. Because unfortunately, even if this recipe looks like it's only unique to South Africa, it is, however, being replicated everywhere around the world. Thank you.
Well done. I think that was one of the most interesting ways to present that we've seen in the last 2 days. Well done, Marimabe. Please tell me, why this approach? Where did you go and sit and say, you know what, I'm going to present this like a cooking show today? What was your thinking behind that?
Well, I remember some of the files that we were sent preparing us for this competition. One of the advice that was given was that we should take our topic and turn it into a metaphor. So I sat down with myself, my supervisor, and those that were supporting me. And I thought to myself, what metaphor could I come with So I thought of several metaphors until I was inspired by a cartoon that I saw on the internet, and it talked about, a recipe and xenophobia. And I was like, oh, I could make that work. And then I went to my favorite brownie recipe, and it inspired me on how to write this, this xenophobic recipe. So yeah, my inspiration came from that.
That is awesome, and it's such a creative way to approach such a tough topic. But let's stray away from the toughness of this topic and tell me, are you a cook in the kitchen? Do you like to cook? What is your favorite meal that you like to make? Because it seems that you know your recipes.
I love cooking everything. My current favorite recipe to cook is anything, like I'll say cottage pie, and like just anything traditional. Like I like making like steamed bread, lentils, and all of those. So
well done, and congratulations on that amazing presentation. And I hope the judges see that as well. We're moving on, and this time the topic is agricultural water rights trading and transfers. And let's now welcome Advocate Maritjie van Aswegen.
South Africa is a dry country, and water distribution and usage are strictly regulated by law. Following the political regime change in 1994, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa was introduced. Notably, it introduced a constitutional water right to enact legislation to give effect to this right. It introduced a system and placed all water use rights under the centralized control of the state. This legal transformation has far-reaching implications for everyone, especially the farmers. While the farmers used their allocation when they needed it for their crops, they also traded with them and transferred when it was in excess. However, in 2019, the Gauteng High Court decided that the transfer and sale of water use entitlements would frustrate equal access and keep historically disadvantaged persons out of the agriculture sector. In fact, farmers with unused water were unable to realize potential rental or sale from water transfers. In the same court case, the farmers who wanted to transfer their rights then seek for a court order to support the continuation of a practice in which a water right holder could transfer his or her right if it was not being used or part of the quota. This application was, however, dismissed and caused consternation. The Australian government's development in experience creates experience for me to delve into the Australian water law market. For this reason, I've decided to choose the model of the Australian government. The Australian government's experience in water scarcity and the shortages in the Murray-Darling Basin caused the Australian government to be influenced to reallocate the usage of water allocation. The Australian water law model of water allocation through markets offers a number of advantages. For can we and should we overcome this legal barrier? This is what you are set to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Maritjie. Well done on your presentation. Well done. Please tell me, we've had doctors on here, we've had master students on here, and now we have an advocate on here. What is a typical day in the life of Advocate Maritjie van Aswegen?
And it is in a typical life of me to enter my practice is to be prepared for the day's schedule. And that means that you have to be prepared in advance before you enter your practice to start your day in a scheduled way, to be prepared.
So it seems that you're talking about preparation a lot, and I think for a competition like this, preparation is key. Could you see that your lifestyle as an advocate and to be prepared for your daily life has helped you a lot with this presentation today?
When you start with doctoral studies, then you have to be very disciplined. And also you have to have a lot of patience, because you have to do research over and over until you get to the right answer of what you encounter and what you want to get to the point. So in this case of my studies, where I was triggered by a couple of court cases, which is currently now moving to the Supreme Court of South Africa, triggers me to find methods of to find an answer for the current problem. And that is why I find the Australian model, which are very much advanced through experience, where they started trading with water rights through water markets, which I find the concept that will work in South Africa. And why I chose Australia is because the similarities which I find that are applicable in South Africa, because of the scarcity that the Australian government also experienced, as well as the actual example of the Murray-Darling Basin problems that causes water shortages and leave the Australian government to look into new ways how to reallocate water for markets. And that is why I'm focusing on that model of the water law of Australia. And that gives me an answer to write my research proposal to get to the answer why we currently in South Africa has a huge problem to overcome the difficulties that was created by the National Water Act Section 25, where the farmers now are stranded with their excess water and they do not have the necessary mechanism to transfer or trade with their existing water that is in excess.
No, thank you very much. And yes, once again, you're so well prepared. Thank you. What an honor to have Advocate Maritjie van Aswegen online with us today. And coming up next with the title of Tiny Parasites, Not Their Frog Hosts, answer big questions about the spread of the disease. Let's now welcome Dr. Anneke Lincoln-Schoeman.
Since COVID-19 has hit humanity, we have come face to face with the idea that we carry little passengers with us wherever we go. In the case of COVID-19, these passengers are viruses, but we, just like all the other animals on the planet, also carry parasites, little animals that live in or on us, like tapeworms or lice. And if we take a closer look at these different kinds of parasites, we see that just like the alpha or beta variants of the coronavirus, one kind of parasite can also have many variants where the genes differ just a little bit. And these variants are often restricted to certain geographic areas. And if you find the parasite outside this geographic area, we know that its host animal that carried it moved. And this is where things get really interesting. And I'm going to use the coronavirus again to explain it to you. You'll remember that the beta variant of the coronavirus was first found in South Africa, right? And then later on was reported in the United Kingdom. Well, this means that people carrying the beta variant traveled from South Africa to the UK. And wherever the beta variant pops up, there we know people carrying the beta variant traveled to. And we can trace it back to South Africa. And because animals don't carry passports or they don't book plane tickets, it's not as easy. But we can use their parasites, just like border stamps on a passport, to figure out when they cross borders and enter new environments. And this is exactly what I did. I used a South African frog and its parasite. If we look at the genetics of just the frog, we see a very clear picture. Let's call it the orange variant to the south and the purple variant to the north. Two variants that did not move. I expect, based just upon the genetics of the frog, no movement between the south and the north. However, I know from chatting with fishermen that they move this frog around a lot. And guess what? The parasite actually confirmed their version of the story. I found orange parasites from the south on purple frogs in the north. This means at some point, frogs from the south carrying this variant of the parasite moved to the north. And thanks to the parasite, I can trace the movement of the frog that wasn't possible before. Now, frog parasite models such as these are a far cry from the complexities of a global pandemic. But that's actually what we want. These simple models can teach us basic tricks that we can use to answer complex questions that rock our entire planet.
What a presentation there by Dr. Anneke Lincoln-Schoeman. Just a reminder of that title, Tiny Parasites, Not Their Frog Hosts, Answer Big Questions About the Spread of Disease. So unfortunately, Dr. Anneke Lincoln-Schoeman not available to have a chat with us today. You know how it is in these digital age. Sometimes technology is not helping us out. So she had that prepared video for us, but we will not be speaking to her. Maybe she'll come online sometime during the day, and then we'll just have a quick chat with her as well. Just a reminder for all of our contestants, those of you that participated yesterday, that are still watching today, those that are in the rooms today and presenting, this is the 3-minute thesis competition, and there are some amazing prizes up for grabs. I just need to remind everyone watching at home that we had 58 doctoral students entering this 3MT competition. 36 had to compete in the Noordwes-universiteit semi-final faculty competition, and today 17 of those doctoral students are presenting their presentations to us. It is the final today of this Noordwes-universiteit 3MT competition, and the winners will be announced tomorrow. So everyone that participated, the master students, the doctoral students, please keep your eyes on all available media, because tomorrow those winners will be announced. And just a reminder, second runner-up today receiving 10,000 Rand, the first runner-up receiving 12,000 Rand, and the winner receiving 15,000 Rand. So I wish you all the best, because there are some fantastic prizes to be won. So we move on then, and the next title is Going Out with a Bang, an alternative to hydrogen gas. Let's now welcome Mr. Vincent Vermaak.
Have you ever wondered whether there's an alternative to hydrogen gas in the industry? You may recall the tragic Hindenburg disaster and more than 20 other airships exploding due to the hydrogen gas used to get them airborne. These tragic events display the gruesome characteristics of hydrogen gas. Fortunately, it also has an upside, where it is applied in the food industry to convert our plant oils into wonderfully delicious yellow margarine. When you spread this magnificent invention on bread, you never think about the process that went into the creation thereof. You disregard any hazards to its preparation and only philosophize about its future implications to your heart's health. The process to make margarine is called hydrogenation and involves the use of hydrogen gas at pressures beyond that of a truck's tires. This already creates a hazardous environment. Moving towards the transport and storage applications of hydrogen gas, well, what I can say is, you remember the story I mentioned earlier about the Hindenburg disaster? That pretty much sums it up. So taking all of this into consideration, I decided to expand my horizons to find a greener and safer alternative to all of this chaos. During my doctoral research, I came across a special chemical called ammonia borane. This little chemical can be seen as a vehicle for hydrogen gas. It is a non-flammable solid, it is easy to handle, and causes no hazard to its direct environment. Its superpower is its ability to release hydrogen gas on demand. But wait, there's more. The hydrogen gas is consumed the moment it is released, making this a much safer method. This led me to exploit these advantages and investigate this special chemical further. It was successfully used in various applications to produce chemicals that are valuable for the pharmaceutical and agricultural industries. Other advantages included the short time required for these transformations, only 30 minutes, and they could be done at room temperature. So hopefully this research will pave the way towards the development of other greener and safer alternatives to prevent explosive debates in the future. Talking about explosives, some people always say that they want to go out with a bang, but I believe going out without a bang might be the best option in this situation. Thank you.
Well done, Vincent. Excellent work there. So I'm not even going to attempt to ask you about anything scientific, especially not about hydrogen, because I have no idea. So I'm going to ask you something that I haven't asked anyone in the last 2 days. When you have to do a presentation like this, you kind of wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to have to look maybe presentable in some way. And you decided on the blue shirt with a tie today. So what is your thinking behind what do I wear to blow away the judges?
Because my thought process with this is, on the one side, I'm actually a lover of navy and blue colors. So that's why I went with this shirt. But moving towards the tie, I love to wear a tie on Sundays as well, going to church. So it actually makes you a bit more presentable wearing a tie and a shirt. And it conveys a better message. You also, on the other hand, you also feel a bit more professional. So when you're feeling professional, you also feel more professional. So I think that helps.
Now you're making me feel like kind of really shy. Yeah, I'm not wearing a tie today. I'm wearing my Northwest-University the shirt that I have on here, but I love the tie. So it looks awesome. But what is a typical day for you? If you like to wear a tie and a shirt, what is a typical day like for you in everyday life of Vincent?
Okay, so a typical day for me is not looking like this, but going to the campus, going to the lab, spending time in the lab, and then from the morning up until late afternoon, and then coming back home, going to my fiance's house. We're just relaxing afterwards, but the clothes are not like this. They're a bit more casual, and there's, for most of the day, there's a lab coat over everything, so you won't be able to see that. So, yes. Yeah.
Well done, looking very presentable today, and what a presentation. Thank you very much, Vincent. So we move on then. The next title is the photocatalytic removal of heavy metal ions from water using functionalized GC3N4. And this will be presented by, let's welcome him as well, Mr. Timothy Oladran Ajibuye.
Good day, everyone. It's a common saying that water is life. In fact, 70% of human body is made of water. But do you know what? This water can also be poison to the body of human. How will it become poison? Industries are sited very close to water bodies, and they discharge their waste into the water body, which means if I am taking water from my tap, I'm actually taking poison instead of taking pure water. And this has claimed the life of a lot of people. In the year 1956, in a city called Minamata in Japan, over 1,000 people died as a result of the poison taken from this water. And you know what? If somebody is poisoned from the water and the person needs to take drug, you still need water to take this drug. And even if you boil the water, boiling cannot remove most of these poison. What is now the way out? What is the solution? The solution is to use sunlight. Sunlight is cheaply available. Unfortunately, most of the places that are having water problems have sufficient and abundant supply of sunlight. But the problem is, how do we tap the sunlight? To tap the sunlight, materials are needed. The materials that are needed must not be soluble in water. The materials that are needed must not be toxic, must not be another problem to the body. And to solve this, in our laboratory, as part of my PhD research, we've been able to make series of these materials. These materials, they are able to remove this poison within 1 hour. And it will now make the water to be free. So we can drink the water instead of the poison. Human activity is turning water to poison. But we as researchers, we are ready to turn this poison back to life. And you know what? What we are using to make this, they are cheap materials, like waste human hair, urine. We are able to extract things from urine to make this material. So they are cheaply available. So we don't need to waste money to get a pure water. Thank you for listening.
Thank you and well done, Timothy. I have a couple of questions for you. Let's start with the first one. Where are you from? I think just give us an idea.
Okay, I'm from Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay, so again, how did you end up at the Northwest University?
Well, I've been hearing about Northwest University. I used to study the ranking of the university in the world, and the top-rated university is Northwest. One of them is Northwest. In fact, the recent ranking ranked Northwest to be number 6 in South Africa. So after finishing my master's in Nigeria, I've been dreaming of attending Northwest University. Fortunately for me, one of my friends, through my investigation, just introduced me to a supervisor at Northwest, and I presented my work. I've been thinking of where to do water research since I've seen people dying of cholera, of other waterborne disease, but I couldn't see where I could get that facility. But I am happy that I'm able to get that facility in Northwest University.
That's great news. And then another one from me. You were talking about purifying water and what we're allowed to drink and not allowed to drink. And I heard the word urine, but you're not suggesting that we have to drink that. You're just going to use that somewhere in the way that you're going to purify our water. Am I right?
Yes. Those materials, those materials that we will use, we also think of cost. There are sophisticated machines that they use, but how can we use cheap materials to purify water? And these materials are waste, actually, waste like air. Air can wrap the leg of the birds and cut their legs and destroy. But instead of allowing them to be a waste, they are actually useful materials. So we are converting them into what can be used. That is, that we attract this light. Apart from that, urine, urine contains urea. So we are trying to extract the urea and convert the urea to this material. And this material, they are very, very active. We've tested them, they are trusted. So you don't need to waste money before you can have clean water.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Timothy, and well done on your presentation. So we move on then to our final presentation of the day for the doctoral students. And this is such an open title, and we can't wait to hear what she has to say. The title is Who is My Neighbor? And this will be presented by Miss Sarah Picketh.
Shackles could represent imprisonment, illness, or despair. Although as humans, we share 99.9% of the same DNA, our focus on the 0.1% has contributed to the creation of a world of us versus them. And we have become shackled in a cycle of discriminatory attitudes and behaviors. the Universal Declaration of Human Rights defends the mutual human dignity of all and condemns discrimination of any kind. Yet millions of refugees who have forcibly left their homes in search of a life of security and dignity have instead met with rejection and even hostility. To oppose this discrimination and xenophobia, Pope Francis has suggested the educating of conscience. This is what my study investigates. 80% of South Africans identify as Christian and a further 3% as Muslim. Both are religions which believe in love of neighbor or fellow human being. The principle of Ubuntu promotes shared identity and goodwill among people and is widely accepted within sub-Saharan Africa. But the instances of xenophobic violence which have occurred in our country contradict the fundamental principles of all three. While our religious beliefs and own Bill of Rights underlie and protect our shared humanity, the reality for many is that daily life is a constant struggle for economic survival. 20% of South Africans live below the international poverty line, so one may wonder if the educating of conscience might have any benefit in the face of such extreme need. The answer, I believe, is yes, because through critical reflection of reality, an informed conscience could lead to the realization that discrimination aimed at the other is driven by misconceptions which effectively oppress those responsible for the intolerance. It is an oppression of pervasive injustice and disadvantage which deprives people of freedom of thought. In recognizing this oppression and consciously choosing through action to commit to changing that which violates the dignity of others, one becomes conscientized. This transformative process of conscientization can be a means of taking control and being the subject as opposed to the object in the living and writing of one's own story. This awareness presents opportunities for liberation from the shackles of disinformation and can thus lead to further benefits beyond the boundaries of my research. Thank you.
Well done, Sarah. What a great presentation and what a great way to end off these last 2 days. Doctoral students today, masters yesterday. Well done and thank you very much. I have one very important question to ask you. What do you think of your neighbors? And I hope they're watching. So what do you think of your neighbors? Are they noisy? Are they helpful? I know in South Africa these days, we have neighbors next to us and sometimes we don't even know who they are. What do you think of yours?
Well, we are fortunate that we actually live outside of town on an agricultural holding, so our neighbors are fairly far away. So the neighbors across the road, we can see the houses, but the neighbors across the road do like to have payday parties, but they don't really disturb us. They're not like our neighbors where we lived in town, where we were previously, and they had parties fairly regularly till 2, 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was quite rowdy and disruptive. Well, but no, I know our neighbors and we are all fine.
No, Sarah, I just wanted to tell you there's a very easy way to solve that problem. You must just look at their pattern. So if they are late sleepers, then you just start your party at 7 in the morning. That's just the easiest part to do it, you know. So yeah, but what a topic. And just tell me a bit about preparation. I haven't asked a lot of people this today. How long does it take to prepare for something like this? And was it a stressful procedure for you to present today for 3MT?
Yes, it took very long, and yes, it was quite stressful. Although I must be honest, my stress only started now about half an hour ago. The preparation was quite intense because I've made tweaks and changes all along the process. As one of the earlier presenters said, even after yesterday's presentations, you still came and thought, okay, well, maybe I must add a little bit here or take a little bit away there. And then the timing, because you would practice it once and then you go over your 3 minutes and practice it again and it would be too little. And so it was a rather strenuous exercise, but it has been fun. I've really enjoyed it.
So your family around you, did you have to present this to them multiple times? Do they know all of the words for your presentation by now?
Yeah, probably.
Well done, and thank you very much. That was our final speaker. Thank you very much, Sarah. What a great way to end off these last 2 days. So I have to remind all of our participants once again on a couple of things. Just listen to this. Winner will receive 15,000 Rand. That's all I want to say. 15,000 Rand. The runner-up 12, second runner-up 10, but 15,000 Rand is the prize money that you will walk away with. How incredible is that? Then, although this is like the final of the Northwest University, this is actually still a semi-final because there is a final that, or a next competition that will be held by the University of the Free State. And that will then be the National 3MT competition. Will be hosted by the University of the Free State on the 29th of October 2021 at 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you are chosen today and for yesterday's group, you will move on to the 29th of October as the event will then be hosted by the University of the Free State in the National 3MT competition. So that is going to be amazing. And I hope everyone is ready for this. Now, we are at the end of our proceedings and our program. Thank you for everyone joining in. Thank you for the participants. Good luck. Keep your eyes on all available media to see if you are the winner. And to end off today, we are joined by Dr. Shanta Naidu from the Faculty of Education. Now, Dr. Shanta Naidu is a lecturer in the Faculty of Education, School for Psychosocial Development in Education at the Northwest University in Potchefstroom. Academic and professional qualifications are a higher education diploma in foundation phase, B.Ed honors, M.Ed, and a PhD. She's also a Golden Key member. She is a member of the Northwest University Senate and a sub-area leader for the Biopsychosocial Perspectives in the Rights Research Entity. I hope I've said all of that right. Let's now welcome Dr. Shanta Naidu.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you for the kind words. I just want to say this is very dangerous for me to speak at this point right now at the end of this event of this magnitude. The presentations were informative, and I personally have learned a lot. So I will be brief, and I want to make some comments from the perspectives of an evaluator who was privileged enough to be a participant in this 3MT presentations today. Firstly, I would like to say, I want to extend the congratulations from all the evaluators to all the participants. Your presentations were informative and provided some good, worthy topics that I wasn't aware of. Thank you. Participants, I want to tell you, you did a sterling job. And in the comments that follow, you will see how much we appreciate your efforts. I also want to extend a warm word of thanks to my fellow evaluators for using their time to serve here today. We appreciate your care in building a new generation of scholars and expertise. I also want to thank the team that has been so instrumental behind the scenes, and that's Dorette, Paul, and Louis from the Office of Prof. Nanesi for all the arrangements needed to make this event possible and a success today. So I have a few comments. Firstly, I want to focus on certain things that I think the participants should know. I've acknowledged that there are lots of challenges in presenting a complex idea in a very limited time frame. So historians report that Winston Churchill was an outstanding speaker. Here's what he said about his preparation for speeches. If you want to speak for 2 minutes, it will take me 3 weeks of preparation. But if you want me to speak for an hour, I am ready now. And this is what you have achieved today, to speak about or to present a complex topic in a very limited time frame. And this, we understood, is a real challenge. This is also acknowledged by many other writers like Mark Twain or George Bernard Shaw. And they've also said, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter or document. So I want to start by echoing what the Masters of Ceremony said during our session. All the contestants should know that we are very aware and very respectful of the enormous challenge you accepted when you had to package your study into a 3-minute presentation. Please be assured of our appreciation for your mammoth efforts. Secondly, I want to highlight the strengths that we saw in your presentations today. The relevance of topics, amazing stuff that you people came up with. The topics were relevant as it focused on various social domains, individual domains, and it had scientific relevance. Your enthusiasm for your topics and communicating about your topics came out clearly. And I want to echo the words of what Professor Jeffrey Valele said earlier. We need to communicate the outcome or the results of what we do to the public in a way that will impart knowledge to the public. And this is exactly what you did. We've used, or you've used, this competition to make and shape what you do and to convince the public about what you do. So that was well done. The best presenters spoke about their topics in a very natural way. This made me feel that you know your topics deeply and that you're quite crystal clear about the message that you want to communicate. Therefore, you speak about your research in a very natural way, and you speak about it a lot in detail. And I love the part when Louis spoke to you, you came out even more naturally, and you spoke about your topics more naturally in a more comfortable way. And that just shows me that, you know, you've got this in you. We also know that this natural presentation came after many weeks of practice and rehearsal. But this is what we saw in the presentation, your ability to speak naturally. The third highlight was areas of development for future presentations. Now, this is your experience, and you've basically opened yourself up to the world. You need to explore this, and you might want to do this again. So I want to give you a few little tips. In such a short presentation, you must grab the attention of the audience immediately in your introduction. Some of your titles and topics made me want to listen to you even more attentively. So spend a lot of time thinking about your opening statements and how it will draw the attention of your listeners. The next point, keep it simple. You need to spend more time to decide what is the core message from your study. You remember what I said earlier on, you need to understand what are you trying to get your audience to realize, or what do you want your audience to know? So you need to be quick and you need to be simple in passing through that message. What is the core message you want to communicate? Now, I've realized that today the slides were on, and that is because of all the technical support you've received from Paul and Louis and everybody. But when you're doing this on your own, please remember, keep your slide on. And that is a personal preference as an evaluator. Now, why would I say this? Keep the slide on during the presentation. In a very short presentation, the slide is a great mechanism, and it serves as a great purpose to assist you to get your message across. Decide carefully what you would present on the slide. And I found that there are two reasons why you would keep the slide, or why a slide is needed. First reason, in short time, it helps the presenter to provide a structure for your presentation. Very important. And number two, it invokes emotion, an image that is the essence of your presentation. And here and there, I found a bit of humor added to it, which is good. We saw also great examples of both these reasons in being used in your slides. The main point I want to communicate is decide carefully how you will use your slide and make it count. So in conclusion, I want to say, keep on asking those relevant and probing questions. Keep on presenting your findings to the broad audiences and influence them. We need all of you to foster a care for our environment and our societies. We are so thankful for your courage and encouragement and engagement, and we rest assured knowing that our futures are in your capable and passionate hands. Congratulations, and I wish you well. Thank you for your participation today.
Thank you, Dr. Shanta Naidu. What a great way to end this off. And I'm going to keep my ending off short as well. Thanks to everyone that participated. Good luck. The winners will be announced by latest tomorrow. Please just keep all of your eyes on all available media, and we will then announce the winners. To everyone participating, good luck and have a great rest. I think all of you were stressed out, and now it's time to rest. And good luck for the future. Have a great day. We'll chat again. Bye-bye.